First thing is the definition of fatherhood is as long as you bring a child into this earth, you're supposed to enter fatherhood. But in our society, we don't see that happening. A lot of men start, they have a child, but they're never a part of the child's life. But who is responsible for that? Is it the men or the women? Because think about it. In a small community, most of the women know the men who are there. They know that they have other children with other women, but yet still they allow them to have children with them. So how can you get a strong family? Because that man cannot live in 3 houses. He could only live in 1 house. So sometimes I think the women have to step up and insist that if you cannot stay with me, I cannot have a child for you, because it destroys what we're trying to build, which is a strong community and a strong society, which will be a strong nation.
Fatherhood is a sacred calling. When you look to see that Jesus Christ, who is almighty and divine, God saw it fitting to give him a human father who, Saint Joseph, to play that role in this world. So anyone who attains a status of fatherhood is blessed, is a calling, is called by God. Because really, our role is to help God to produce the right sort of individuals to better improve the world and make it a better place and so on and whatnot. So our role is really very important and very sacred. But I did not, as a boy, I did not see it that way, and it was not meant that way. As a boy, really, I tried to be fast. As a boy, fatherhood was just, I would not say useless. I had no status. It was, how would I put it? There was no value to it. Because actually, the more, when you are a young man, the more girls you have, and the more you boast of how many children and so on, whatnot, and then you value no real responsibility, or especially moral value, and so on. And so you find, as I said, fellows who just went on procreating and so on with no responsibility. The law was not against them and whatnot. And when women, especially women, the Negro women and so on, they have gone a long way. They realize that what slavery has done to us. Because women were seen just as tool for procreation, for production, produce slaves and so on, slaves either for the planters to sell, to make more money, or to get more labor, power, so that the economic thing will be hands. The women had no real value status and so on. It was a question, especially if you are a good stud, continue a good stud, you were just roam along and enjoy yourself. So men did not see their role as, you just do the business and children come out, no responsibility. So, and when you think of the status of women at that time, just and so on, and what they have graduated into now, is quite a different and meaningful thing. I believe many things have impacted on that to make it.
But more than that, I look around and I see most of the other religions seem to insist on a family structure. You see the guys and the ladies going to church. In the Catholic Church, it's not so. The fathers only come for the christening. Maybe they involve in the first communion, but they disappear. They don't come to church with the children and the wife or the lady. So what is happening to the family? The family is being destroyed. Maybe it's time for the Catholic Church to take a stand like the other churches and say, if you cannot be with the lady and come to church and marry her and do these kind of things, we cannot allow you to come in and christen and do the first communion and the confirmation, because it's destroying what we're trying to build. So to me, our society have to do a few things. We have to get our ladies to be a little more responsible in terms of who they make children with, what kind of commitments they get from the people they make the children with, because it's destroying what we're trying to build.
I think we have gone a long, long way to where we are. there's still a lot more to be done, but we have and if you continue. Number one, you have enlightenment, education, and so on, both spiritual and academic, and so on, have played a meaningful role. What I'm trying to say, the more you can get the men and to empower the men, the more, the better they will take the role of meaningful. However, the law have really helped to change that too. Because whereas before the men could pay their thing and so on and birth or whatever it is, now you're called to pay your responsibility to a large extent. I'm not saying it's perfect, but now you can't go about and do what you're doing and whatnot and whatnot. So all these things can help. But however, despite the fact that the law is a good instrument or whatever it is, but I believe social grouping and development and so on in the community and anything we can do to enhance the men, to think them up, would be the better thing to do it. As I said, for example, figureheads, like in the schools where you see female. I'm not saying that it's not, but we need more men in every aspect to play the role and so on. Even in the homes, even in the homes, how many men are really the mover, the thing of the home? Yes, you are there, and in our minds we are ahead, we are this, we are that. But when you look at it, by and large, is the women that get it going, and the children can see through it too, and so on. Although when the man speaks, they know there's a power there, and so on. But the impact on the children, more women. So we men must get more involved, and not just the provider.
Let's first start with the power of example. How can a young man get an example from somebody who is absent? So we need to encourage our men to be part of the children's lives. So much that even if you're not living with the child, but you need to make time for that child, especially boys. You need to go with them, walk down to the beach. You need to go fishing with them. You need to do the things that you could have one-on-one conversations. We're not having conversations as men with the boys. So the boys are on their own. As fathers, I think we have to play a role in terms of encouraging other fathers who we see are delinquent to play a role. Even if you're absent in the house, but there's time that you could make to be with that son of yours. Because we're supposed to be bridging that divide for our young men. The fathers supposed to be the ones to lead by example. You cannot say to your son to do certain things, but you cannot lead by example and do the things you're asking him to do. It's very difficult for him to follow, because kids learn things from what they see, not from what they hear from our fathers. So if the father is doing what he wants the son to do, it's a lot easier for the son to do it by example. Because when the sons get involved in the gangs, the first thing they do is put a gun in their waist. Why? Because that's what they see. That's what the leader of the gang says to them. That's your protection. As fathers, our protection is supposed to be our mind. How do we guard ourselves from these things? How do we tell our boys that it is not cool to use language like my dog? And you hate every time you pass around, and that's how they call each other. But how can that build anything in young men? You have to tell them that this is not acceptable. We have to change the language. We have to change the action. We have to change the way we live.